Welcome to Learning Life Skills Together. This is our weekly community Zoom meeting where our guests help us to go deeper into the 4 life skills and open up a huge array of chances to practice them. Hello, everyone. This is week number 57 for the Learning Life Skills Together Zoom meetings. And I'm here today with Binta Dixon, and we're going to talk about the out of doors, even though we're both indoors at the moment. So, as always, we begin with a practice to bring ourselves into this moment to where we can listen and take in clearly what's coming to us. So I'm going to invite Binta to lead us in a short practice.
Thank you, Don. All right. I will just invite you, if you feel comfortable, to close your eyes. If not, you can keep your eyes open. There's a lot of choice here. And I invite you to notice your body, how you're sitting in your seat, your hips, your legs against the chair, and notice your feet on the ground. How below you is always the earth. No matter if you're inside or outside, laying, standing, sitting, the earth is always beneath you. Take a moment to breathe in. And as you breathe out, see if you can breathe down into your feet. And imagine breathing down into the earth. What does it feel like to connect, to being grounded, supported? If it feels good, you can say hello to the earth. And as you breathe in again and out, what does it feel like to receive a hello back? Can you breathe in and out along with the earth below you? Feel yourself planted where you are, just for this moment. Rooted, resourced, like roots of a tree, up from the earth, through your legs, and up to your heart. Notice that the sky is also always above you, and that in between, you are supported, here and now. You can rest, relax, and notice. Take a few more breaths in and out, feeling the nourishment from the earth below you, the sky above you, the connection you have that's always available. And as you breathe in again, you can come back up to the space. Maybe roll your shoulders back. Roll them forward. Maybe wiggle your fingers and toes. Feel the energy, the pulsing, the aliveness in this moment. Thanks.
Thank you for that. So I want to give you a report on how that was for me.
Please
I,
do.
I think of that as part of the sort of practice is to say, how am I afterwards? You know, what's it like for me now, this moment? And so I want to say that I have been struggling with a cold for the last few days and, feeling kind of dragged down. And when you said, say hello to the earth, I got this big smile that it wasn't just on my face, it was like my whole body, was just smiling. It was like, okay, this is like, I was not expecting you to say that for one thing and say hello, you know. And so there was a little bit of, oh, this is going to be interesting. But then as I got more serious about it, and you sort of said, well, breathing in and breathing out with the earth, that really helped me a lot because just breathing has been kind of a drag. And so to actually feel supported, to feel all that, and to have that little big smile happening was really good. So
Oh,
thank you so much.
I'm so grateful that I could do that with you today. That was helpful for me too. I needed some.
Yeah, yeah. That is the other thing is that when we're leading people, we're doing it too, and so we get the benefit as well. I love it. How are you, by the way, now that you've done that?
Oh, I'm doing well today. I'm feeling very supported. I think that sometimes it's really helpful for me to remember that I am supported by the earth. I have this relationship that I'm continuing to build. And yeah, you know,
Yeah. And
helpful.
so a relationship with the earth is what you're all about in many ways. I mean, the last time you and I spoke, I was sort of overwhelmed by the things that you're into and involved with. And so I don't quite know how to introduce you. So I'm going to say, how would you like to be introduced? What's at the top of your mind and the top of your list right now?
Sure. Well, now that I'm grounded, I actually would say I'd introduce myself as the daughter of Norma Jean and Joseph Warren from North Carolina and Alabama. I am a budding conservationist, someone who is really interested in understanding connection between the earth and the care for the earth, care for community, and care for children and families.
Hmm.
So I am an Afrofuturist writer. And so all those things come together at this intersection of care. So currently, the project I'm working on is an Afrofuturist project to help bring the wisdom of the African diaspora into bird conservation and environmental justice, and doing that in a way that hopefully is accessible to children, young children, and families. So that's a mouthful. And I would say that my work is interdisciplinary, and even I sometimes I'm like, wow, how do I describe it? But if I had to say it in one word, it would be that I'm a student of care and that all my work comes
Hmm.
through that lens.
Yeah. So you said that it was care for um community, care for
The
na
earth, yes,
the earth.
nature.
And what was the third one?
For children and families.
Oh,
So,
children.
yes.
Oh, yeah, yeah. So yeah, so that's really kind of what mankind has always been about in one way or other, is caring for the earth, which cares for our communities, and our communities are where our children are, and that's, they become the community as time goes on. So it's really kind of a beautiful circular earth-shaped kind of
Mm. Yes.
so but at the center, it sounds like, or at least as a point of interest for you, is birds.
Yes.
And
Very much.
so how do birds fit into this project?
Well, this project is sponsored by the American Bird Conservancy along with
Ah,
Rewild. And so they're really aimed, the Together with Birds program is to bring more people into the love, the stewardship, the support of birds. And so this project really is to look at how can we pull from different lineages of knowledge, this in this case, the African diaspora, for getting more people excited about birds, or even using the knowledge of birds they already have just to explore with them. So at the center is thinking about what does it mean to engage with our flying kin in any way that feels good to us, whether that is looking to protect their habitats or just looking outside and seeing that who's available, who's there.
Yeah, yeah. So there is this really, to me, amazing relationship that people have with birds. And sometimes I'm not sure people even know that they have a relationship with birds, or that they would say off the top of their head, "Oh yeah, and I really, I really enjoy birds."
Yeah.
And you sort of see people in action, you watch what's going on, you watch what happens when there's a big hawk, or we have lots of raptors, lots of hawks right now, as well as vultures, and people just look up,
Yeah,
and
that
there's
moment of
something going
wonder.
on, and it's pretty big, and it's pretty interesting, you
Yes.
know
I
so
totally agree. I think that even for myself, I think about for a long time, I didn't really even remember or think about my connection with birds and how important they were for my upbringing and my even my connection to nature, I think was sparked by my curiosity of birds growing up in North Carolina, seeing the cardinals hopping around and just watching them for so long. I developed this curiosity, this wonder for them, and that led me to think about so many other things, like what are they doing out there? What are they eating? Like, what is this environment they live in? And my grandmother was the person who really got me
ah
interested in thinking
oh
about birds.
yeah.
So I think as growing up in the South, very the rooted in African American culture, birding is something that people do a lot. They spend a lot of time looking outside on whether it's on the porch or through the window. But I don't know that they have the language or even think about calling it birding. But it's something that felt very much like a family activity, something that we did very casually, but often.
It's something that you just do. You
Yeah,
just
yeah,
look at the bird. They're
do
there.
it. Yeah,
Yeah. And so why does it have to be specialized? I don't know.
right.
I mean, it's interesting that it was your grandmother who brought you in rather than your mom. So,
Yeah, yeah.
although is your mom a birder as well?
Well, my mom, yeah, she was an early childhood educator for 30 years. She had a program that was nature-based. So, although my grandmother was my first instance, of course,
Okay.
I also, my mom fed that continuously. Our
Mm.
curriculum was based in understanding that, ecosystems are connected, that all living things
Wow.
have a place. And so we had whole, segments where we think about and talk about birds. We visited a raptor center to be able to learn about hawks and to be able to learn about
Wow.
the different birds that exist in our environment. So definitely she played an important role.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And my dad as well. I would say he's from a rural town in North Carolina. So sitting out on the porch with him, he would be sitting there watching what the birds go by. I'd say like most people in my family have some connection. And I would say, I want to assume, but I think a lot of people, if we think back about our childhoods or how we grew up, we have some connection with birds, even if it's just, as you said, looking up out of our windows and seeing one and that wow, like that's so big, or even the shadow of it and how huge it could be. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, this conversation is so much of what I think of as birding, you know, not let's go see as many species as we can today, which is a cool thing,
Yeah.
and certainly has its scientific reasons and its conservation reasons and everything else. But to sit on your porch and to see your birds, you know. maybe I'm just a porch sitter, but this, and so I love that, but my wife and I sit on the porch a lot in the summer. In the winter, we sit and look out. We have a large window in our kitchen, and our bird feeders are there. And so they're our birds.
Yes, that place, right? They
That
connect
place,
us to place
yeah. And it's
in a
that
very specific
bird, and
way.
he's missing some
Yeah.
of the stuff off his crest.
Like what happened?
And so we know that that's him, and we know what
Yeah.
he does. Yeah, I mean that's really um, just casual, but so much deeper than the other kind of birding. And again, I love that one too. And we go to the big national wildlife reserves and take the checklist and go look too,
Yeah, that's fun.
but it's my favorite is just that because there's I don't know, I think there's that community part or the family part, you know.
Yes.
um my daughter is grown and out of the house and out of the country, in fact.
Mhm.
But together we watched birds in that way. Hey, did you see what the cardinal did? Not a cardinal, but the
That
cardinal
one.
did,
Yes.
today.
I love that you brought it back to that and Cardinals, because that's kind of how I reconnected to where I was from. I did spend a lot of time traveling. I moved to Miami for a long time, and there was a time when I needed to come back. And it was the Cardinals that helped me remember, like, not just any Cardinals, like the Cardinals I came back to in the childhood home that I lived in. I started to think how they don't really migrate. So it's very possible that these are the same lineage of Cardinals that I saw when I was
Yeah,
growing up, and what that meant to be welcomed back by the birds to a place that was very much home, but felt in some way a little unfamiliar to me for a while because I was reintegrating. So it
yeah,
really can be a really strong connection when you think about these are the birds that know this place. And so they know me because this place knows me too. So
yeah,
I love that. That was for your family also something you connected on.
yeah. So I guess the reason I'm talking about it from that direction is, we hope that people are working with our life skills and sharing them with their kids, and we sort of set out there walking as a way of doing that, and walking because we walk side by side. And there's that different kind of connection and communication that we have with our kids when it's not me leaning towards you and you going on, what's he going to say now, where it's more in that casual manner. So when we're walking, we're doing that. When we're birding, we're doing that because we're sharing our attention in a different direction.
Mm.
We're both looking at that same thing. And that really does something for us. That helps us to bond. When you really think about the things that you do with the people that you are bonded with, it so often contains that element, of side by side shared attention.
Yes, and what happens when you both can share your experience of what you're seeing, right?
Yeah,
Because you're both sharing this, but you also have a different perspective. So both the child and the parent can share in an equal way that I think feels really special. I really appreciate that
yeah.
your skill.
Yeah, and that leads to that sharing of those really basic mental health skills, like knowing how you're feeling, like,
Yes.
ooh, look at that, you know, what what is that bird doing? Or
Mm.
what just happened there? As you see in the distance the hawk coming down, scaring everybody. That happened this morning. In fact, I was sitting at the breakfast table, and the next thing I knew, everybody went up in the air. You know,
Mm.
and when 10 doves go up, it's loud and interesting. And luckily, the hawk was not successful in that dive, but that's what it was. So I had to go tell my wife. You know,
Of course.
but you know, how did that make you feel? What was going on with you? Man, you know, that was really exciting. Just knowing that we do that we can share our feelings in that way, you know, um, sharing our feelings when I don't know about that description, maybe that's not that positive, but I think of it as
It's a story in
a
itself.
positive situation, a really interesting situation that you want to
Yes.
study.
And then you can reflect on that, right? Like it becomes a memory, a shared story that you can both reflect on and both tell from that
Yeah.
parallel
Hmm.
perspective.
Yeah. So that kind of brings me to want to hear a little more about your book project.
Yeah, so through the American Bird Conservancy and together with birds, this project, my particular project, because there's 9 of us doing various things that are all exciting, but the one I'm working on is a children's book. And I want it to be not just for children, but for families to be able to have that sense that to practice that skill of side by side, of being together hopefully invoking the sense of wonder around birds. It's still in development, but I think my intention is to provide a space for children and for parents to get curious about who are the birds in their environment. What is this the stories from their family that evokes like their a sense of wonder for birds and nature? And what do they already know? Because I think there are so many things that we know about birds and our experience. So I'm hoping that this can be something that feels playful, that feels maybe not exciting, but also calming, but also, yeah, something that can happen in nature as well. So taking this as a resource into nature with you, or
Mm,
sitting outside and reading on the porch, or, at least close to a window. I want it to be something that evokes that wonder and that for them to want to go then out and experience birds.
yeah. And so um, I'm gathering that this will be an illustrated book.
Yes, definitely a picture book.
Yeah.
I'm looking for it to be something that hopefully also includes sensory details. So I'm thinking about what would it be like to feel a feather on a page, right? Like what is the sound maybe crunching under the foot of a bird? What is the view that you would view a bird from? So thinking about different elements that will make it, tactile for the
Yeah.
child in terms of development, but also interesting for the parents as well to engage with their child, to have that experience along with them, right? I mean,
Yeah.
we so often as adults, we can lose that sense of wonder with all the other responsibilities and things we have to manage. So what is a moment just to reclaim that? I hope that this book can
Yeah.
be a bit of that.
Yeah. So that idea of, as parents, we sort of, not necessarily parents, but as adults, we kind of let that sense of wonder go and just sort of sit on the side, because we constantly think we have to be focused on things. And we tell our kids, focus. And there's definitely a time for that. And definitely that's a huge value in the way our society works in terms of who gets what, right? But our brains also need to go that other direction sometimes.
Yes.
We need to be able to let go of that intensity of focus and be in what's around us. And so I love what you're doing about getting people out, maybe with the book, at first, to just get them outside. Because if you go birding, you don't spend all of your time birding. If you were birding for dollars, you would. But well, I don't know. Maybe you do. Maybe there's somebody that you know who birds for dollars. I can't even imagine it.
No.
But you go out birding, and the next thing you know, you're looking at the squirrels and what they're up to. And then you're like, oh, the acorns are starting to fall, or they're starting to split open, and sprouts are coming up, or whatever it is. And you're way off into something else entirely.
Yeah, a world is opening, right? It's
Yeah,
like
the
the
whole
first
world.
part to a new lens on the world. That's
Yeah.
exciting.
So I love where you're going with the project.
And
Yeah.
I love what you said also about focus. I think sometimes, even for myself, I can get into this idea or this stuckness of like, I need to focus on this, I need to get this done. But I find that if I give myself even 10 minutes of unstructured time, of time, maybe walking outside, maybe just doing something creative, that I can actually then come back and focus more.
Yeah.
I think that that's a really helpful thing.
Yeah, we really need to practice that more. I think I was telling you that one of the things that I try to get folks to do is just if you're inside, go step outside. Take 4 steps, get out from under whatever little porch roof or whatever is above you, and just look at the sky.
Yes.
You will feel different. You will feel yourself changing.
So
It's
true. And something we can do anywhere, right? I think
yeah,
thinking about accessibility, no matter where our physical environment is, we can look up, we can wonder, we can look at the sky. And
yeah,
that's that's a gift.
yeah. It really is. And so, one of the things that I think about is nature is for everyone, and not everybody can get to, like I say, the national wildlife preserves that
Yeah.
are around the preserved land that we have in our area. There's, thousands of acres that are set aside for to not be built on, to not have any improvements happen, you know, and not everybody can get there, and that just sort of breaks my heart. We need to have those experiences, and so that's why I love the sky so much.
Yes. I think that's also one of the reasons why, at least in, the Black Southern tradition, grandmothers a lot of times had gardens. They might be a tiny garden, but just that bringing in of nature, you find more birds show up, butterflies show up,
Mm.
things show up that maybe wouldn't have in an urban environment or in an environment that is not as forested or wild. And it's something that I think continues today. So even in the smallest way, when we can expose ourselves to nature, when we can use what we have around us, even if it's just one plant, right, to make that connection,
Yeah.
it starts to open up that world, just like the sky. Just looking up is just the beginning point to hopefully a stronger connection or remembering a connection. Because the thing is, we all have that connection and have had it. It's just remembering that and reconnecting.
Yeah, I mean, I think of it in terms of how much time we spend indoors, outdoors now. I mean, it has changed so drastically. Your grandmother, that generation undoubtedly spent, 70, 80% of their time outside. And we spend 90 plus percent. I mean, that's the readout on it of our time inside. We belong outside.
Yes. Yeah, and breaking down those barriers, I think there's so many ways we can do it to start. And I see that young folks, there's different ideas about outside, there's different cultural ideas, different systemic things that have blocked our connection, but we
Mm.
can return to that simply, as you said, by starting with a walk, by connecting with who are the birds in my neighborhood? What is my connection to them? Getting even just 10 more minutes a day, I think is a start to hopefully get us towards that more of a um, balanced ratio of outside time.
Oh, you hit the prime number for me. 10 minutes a day. I would
Yeah.
love it if people would practice like that 10 minutes a day. They
Yeah.
would love it too. They just have to get started.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That first step, right?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So, so, so your book and the whole project is aimed at conservation? Is that the overall
I
piece?
would say it's aimed at connection, I
Connect.
think as a part of conservation. So understanding that in order for us to conserve and to support birds, people have to know and care about birds. So helping more people connect to birds and to realize that they have that connection to birds is really, I think, the core of the project. And then that we hope will lead to more conservation efforts, more people in conservation, because we need more people from various backgrounds to come into these different careers, to see it as something that they're passionate about. So the starting place for me is, do children have a love of nature and of birds? How can I spark that? How can we help to spark that with our various projects?
Yeah. Well, Binta, I hate to spring this on you because I didn't tell you up front that I'm going to ask you this,
Right.
but I'm going to anyway because I always ask this. Do you have a few words of wisdom or even a watchword
Mm.
to sort of take us out?
Oh, watchword. Mm. I think the word that's coming to mind right now is harmony.
Hmm.
That's the word. Finding harmony and not striving for balance, but harmony in the way that you can try to make a song from the aspects of your life. It may not always be easy. It may not always be something that things may not always go the way we want them to. But finding harmony, I think, is creating poetry, creating art from all the pieces of our experience, the good and the bad, the ugly and the beautiful.
Hmm.
And
Yeah,
yeah, I think it can start with just a moment of noticing where we are.
perfect. Well, thank you so much. This has been great. I have enjoyed our conversation immensely.
Thank you so much, Dr. McCohen. I so appreciate you too.